Thanks so much for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Ephraim Graham. Growing tension in Washington today as major problems continue with the Obamacare website. The administration seems helpless to respond, and even some Democrats are calling for the enrollment deadline to be pushed back. Across the country, people are trying to enroll, but the site for the online healthcare exchanges has had major technical problems, including error messages and long delays. Now lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are demanding answers. The Secretary of Health and Human Services, Kathleen Sebelius, attributed the problems to extremely high volume.
No one could be more frustrated than I am and the president. We want it to be smooth and easy and let consumers compare plans.
People who don't even want to deal with it, and they don't think it's affordable with their income, and so they are just going to take the penalty.
The deadline for Americans without health insurance to enroll is December 15th. At least one Democratic senator is asking for an extension to that deadline, and the Obama administration is urging patience. In a news conference Tuesday, Jay Carney dodged questions about the online glitches, referring reporters instead to the Department of Health and Human Services. In the end, he bailed early from the briefing as reporters continued to fire questions.
Have White House officials watched anyone without insurance go through the website trying to help this situation?
Couldn't we have a rep just come to the press briefing?
There's go online. How much would that cost that?
Republicans say these problems are proof Obamacare should be stopped, and they vow they will continue to fight. The White House is denying recent spying allegations from a French newspaper. The U.S. intelligence director issued a statement saying the reports contain inaccurate and misleading information regarding U.S. foreign intelligence activities. The story alleges the National Security Agency collected phone and electronic data for more than 70 million French citizens. Meanwhile, Mexico is investigating allegations Washington spied on its president and his predecessor. This comes after a German newspaper reported the NSA began snooping on Mexican officials' emails in May of 2010. Security is on the minds of Boston officials today as the city prepares for Game 1 of the World Series tonight. The Red Sox are facing the St. Louis Cardinals. Just 6 months after the Boston Marathon bombings, police say they are not taking any chances. Dale Hurd has this story.
Boston's Fenway Park is decked out and ready for baseball. But those in charge of security are mindful of a recent sporting event in Boston that turned tragic. The marathon attack just 6 months ago that killed 3 people and injured 260 others. Even though authorities don't have specific intelligence indicating a planned attack, they're determined to prevent one.
Making sure that people don't leave things, backpacks or unattended packages. We're going to be on our toes to make sure it's a safe and secure environment.
And Chief Linsky says Boston police will be relying on the fans themselves.
Our fans will keep an eye on one another. We'll make sure that people are behaving in an appropriate manner and work with Boston police to make sure that we've got a safe environment.
For Boston's mayor, safety is about everyone, from fans to police, being on the same page.
We're a city that works together. That's what's so important. Working together, you can accomplish anything. Singly, you can't do anything. That's why the police, the community, all of us, that's what makes Boston safe.
But there is one form of security you won't be seeing at Fenway.
Will there be additional cameras, drones, things like that in terms of security?
We don't have any drones.
Okay, just checking, just asking you.
Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Turning overseas now, Syrian rebels are trying to capture a Christian town near Damascus. The village of Sadat is on an isolated ancient Christian village where residents still speak Aramaic, the language spoken by Jesus. The Al-Qaeda-linked rebels have damaged and desecrated Christian churches in the area and seem to be targeting a main hospital in the town. The rebels are said to be targeting the village because of its strategic location on the highway north of Damascus. Dr. John Ibner from Christian Solidarity International says that the attacks put Christians and other religious minorities in danger of elimination. Increased violence in northern Iraq is pushing Christians out of that part of the country. The Kurdish north was considered a safe area for Christians, but bombings in recent months are causing panic and many are fleeing the country. Al-Qaeda has claimed responsibility for several of those attacks. Some Christians have been told by local police that they should, quote, not be in Iraq because it is Muslim territory. The Christian charity Open Doors says if the persecution continues, there may be no Christians left in Iraq by 2020. A California pastor who was detained in Iran this week is expected to come home today. Pastor Eddie Romero was arrested for protesting the imprisonment of Christian converts and a human rights advocate outside a Tehran prison. According to his daughter, he used a smartphone to broadcast part of his protest and eventual detention on the internet. He was held for questioning and then let go. Romero hoped to raise awareness about Christians in prison because of their faith, among them Pastor Saeed Abedini.
And joining us now is David Yegnazar of Elam Ministries, an organization that serves the church in Iran, including those who are persecuted for their faith. David, can you give us an idea of how many Iranian Christian leaders who are currently in prison for their faith right now?
We know of at least 11 Christian leaders who are serving sentences in Iran at this time. There are many other Christians who've been arrested. Many of them are kept for a few days. Sometimes it could be as little as a few hours, but many times it's a few days or weeks and then released with warning.
Of this 11, can you tell us about one or two specifically and what their needs are?
I would highlight Farshid Fatih. He was arrested in December 2010. And he's been there, he was given a 6-year sentence. Saeed Abedini is another one who's been in prison and has suffered physical harm. There's Mariam, who has been suffering very greatly from ill health in the last few weeks. And she was arrested, I believe, in July of this year. And she is in desperate need of prayers.
What are some of the crimes they're said to be committing and the reason for them being in prison?
The general accusation is activities against the government. So anything that the government sees that they consider a threat to themselves. But really, at the end of the day, these are simple Christians who love the Lord Jesus. And that's really why they're in prison, because they are sharing their faith, not in with any political agenda, but simply out of their love for Christ.
This seems to come from a fear on the part of Iran's leaders. Why do they fear Christianity?
They see that many Iranians are coming to faith. This is a time where we have seen more Iranians come to know the Lord Jesus in the last 10, 15 years than at any other time in history. For the church, although it's a very difficult time, there's also a wonderful time of people being reached by the gospel, not only reached, but lives transformed.
We're seeing the church grow at an amazing rate. So how are these people coming to faith in Christ despite this persecution?
Well, through many ways, through the courageous leadership of people like Farshid and others who, as I said, just want to share their faith with people. And the church is growing through family. So when one person comes to faith, now we're seeing, which is unusual in the Muslim world, other members of their family not rejecting them, but actually asking them the question, what's happened to you? How come your life has changed to such a degree? The church is growing through the distribution of the scriptures. Elam Ministries, by God's grace, has been able to print over 1 million New Testaments for Iran over the last 9 years. And we know that those scriptures are being read, that those scriptures are being passed on, that people are reading them and encountering and meeting Jesus Christ. The church is growing through TV, and there's some wonderful ministries that are going, that are serving and producing TV programs, reaching right into the country, into the homes of people, even though it's illegal for Iranians to watch Christian TV by satellite. They are able to do so.
I understand many women are turning to Christ and preaching the gospel. What specifically does Christianity offer to women in an Islamic culture?
Well, I think it's not what Christianity, it's what Jesus does. And Jesus respects women. He brings dignity to women. And the Iranians, when they understand who Jesus is and how he loves women, not just discards them, but loves them. And not only loves them, but brings them and gives them a role to play in his church to both reach new unbelievers and to disciple new believers. These women who have been legally devalued in their culture are now given dignity, and they love it. They get excited. They want to share it. And they are some of the most zealous evangelists, and they just love to serve the Lord Jesus.
Amen. Our prayers go out to you and to them as well. David Yegnazar, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Low voter turnout didn't stop residents of Jerusalem from re-electing Mayor Nir Barkat. Just over 30% of the capital's residents cast their ballots. Barkat says the victory is a mandate to continue his policies of openness and tolerance. Barkat, who is non-religious, has tried to make Jerusalem a city for all residents, religious and non-religious. He's also worked to attract non-religious tourists to the city through an annual marathon and other activities. He defeated ultra-Orthodox contender Moshe Alon. Up next, the girl who stood on her faith to fight a school district and won. We'll tell you what's next for her and the policy she defeated.
Hi, my name is Breda. I'm just your typical 9-year-old. I love singing, dancing, reading, discovering the simple truth. My grandpa says you're never too young or old to learn the value of a dollar. He taught me the true value of this paper dollar. You see this little gold coin? It says $1 on it. But guess what? That was a long time ago. Today, this gold dollar is worth over 100 paper dollars. This paper dollar is now only worth 1 penny compared to America's former money, the gold dollar. My grandpa says the only money worth saving today is real money, gold or silver coins. He's pretty smart. How our paper dollars lost their value, he says. It's all explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. It's easy and fun to read. If you call the number on the screen, I will send you a copy totally free. Next time, I'll explain the simple truth about money.
Help! If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was. Help! And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
The fight for life is taking center stage at a federal court in Texas. Opponents of a new abortion law are suing to stop the measure from going into effect next week. They say it'll put women's health at risk.
We're concerned that if this law goes through, we're now going to see another series of health centers closed.
Texas's new law passed the Republican House over the summer. It requires abortion providers to have nearby hospital admitting privileges and imposes stricter guidelines on medical abortions and abortions after 20 weeks. Supporters say it protects both mothers and babies, but pro-choice groups like Planned Parenthood say it does more harm than good. The judge in the case will not be ruling on if women should have abortions, but rather on the constitutionality of the new abortion measure in the state of Texas. This summer, one of the nation's largest school districts shut down a controversial program that tracks students using radio frequency technology. Its chief opponent, a 16-year-old student. Heather Sells has the latest on her story and what it means for students around the country.
It's kind of like a dream. You hoped it would happen, but you never thought it would, and when it did, you're just like, awesome.
Andrea Hernandez took on the Northside Independent School District, the largest in South Texas with more than 100,000 students, and she won. At issue, this tracking device, also known as a school ID badge. Its tiny batteries emit radio waves that allow a school to locate a student's exact location at any point in the day.
It's not just knowing a schedule of a student, which may or may not hold true for that day, but it's actually knowing physically where that child is.
But for Hernandez, the badge meant a violation of her faith, lining up with what she read in Revelation about the mark of the beast.
You couldn't be in the school without having the chip, and you couldn't buy lunch, you couldn't vote for homecoming, you couldn't do all the stuff that a normal student would do unless you had this tracking chip. Just like in the Bible, you can't buy, sell, or trade. unless you have the mark.
Hernandez paid a high price for her protest. When it became clear that she would not wear the RFID badge, her magnet high school expelled her.
And they said that they would be dropping me from the rosters that day, or the following day.
So what caused Northside to switch gears and drop the $250,000 program? Spokesman Gonzalez said it came down to money. Northside had hoped the RFID badges would allow it to better track and count extra students for attendance, bringing it more in state funds. But in the end, attendance barely increased at its 2 pilot schools, bumping up by less than 1%. What happened in San Antonio may slow down the movement to put RFID technology in schools across the country. That's good news for privacy advocates and for Hernandez, who is back and ready to enjoy school.
RFID being gone is a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. It's good to go back and just be a student, and it's good to not have to worry about tracking and all this radiation floating around the school.
Reporting in San Antonio, Heather Sells, CBN News.
Coming up next, the prescription drug that is supposed to give users an extra edge. Instead, it's sending them over the edge. Hear what's being done to stop Adderall abuse. Next.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Yeah! Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
People who don't get enough sleep or don't sleep well have higher levels of a plaque in their brain that's linked to Alzheimer's. That is the finding from a study at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. Previous research has found a lack of sleep can be bad for your thinking abilities, but so far researchers cannot say for sure that bad sleep leads to Alzheimer's or that better sleep may help prevent it, although it may be possible. But it's always best to get a good night's rest. Well, you have likely heard of the drug called Adderall. It is one of the prescription drugs used to treat attention deficit disorder. And 14 million young people between the ages of 20 and 40 take it. Many think it's harmless, but that isn't always the case. Lori Johnson brings us the story of one young man who was addicted to Adderall, and it led to his suicide.
Since childhood, Richard Fee lived a storybook life. Straight A's, star athlete, lots of friends. Then he started taking the prescription drug Adderall.
It just changed his whole thought process.
Over the course of 3 years, Richard's life spiraled out of control until his father found him hanging in his closet.
Worst possible thing you could even imagine. I mean, here was this great kid that had everything going for him. Everything. Smart, good-looking kid, and the Adderall just destroyed him.
Adderall is prescribed for people with attention deficit disorder, or ADD. Adderall works on the brain to help them focus better. But some people who do not have ADD believe Adderall makes them focus better too, so they take it to help them study.
Richard had mentioned to me that he had gotten an Adderall from one of his friends at exam time.
He's not alone. An estimated 1 in 5 college students use it, largely unaware of the physical danger and that it's a felony to use someone else's prescription.
You hear in the library during exam week people asking each other, or I really need an Adderall pill. People do offer it to each other. It's not a big deal to people on campus.
Soon, Richard wanted his own supply.
If you go to a doctor and you just tell them you have the signs of ADD, that without any checking, they'll just give you a prescription. And that's basically what he did.
Dr. Gretchen Lefevre-Watson, a clinical psychologist, researches the misuse of drugs like Adderall. She says it's easy to fake ADD.
If you talk to most college students, they could probably tell you a doctor or 2 or 3 in town to go to and what to say and do in order to get a prescription.
Adderall is a Class II narcotic, an amphetamine similar to cocaine. It can be very addictive.
You can get a euphoric feeling with a crash afterwards.
After college, Richard moved back home with his parents and convinced 2 separate doctors to each prescribe him Adderall.
Yeah, Richard would be up for days, be up for 3 days in a row, walk in the house 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, wide awake. And then he would crash for a couple days and sleep for a couple days.
The Fees tried to get Richard's doctors to stop prescribing the drug.
I said, you keep giving Adderall to my son, you're going to kill him.
But Richard was over 18, and his doctors said legally Richard's treatment was private.
Was actually stayed in the reception area behind the little class partition and said he couldn't talk to us.
Richard's doctors both increased his dose.
You can become more seriously addicted and become psychotic and lose the ability to think clearly and do things that you otherwise wouldn't do.
I'd seen him, he was on the computer, and he had just put little pieces of Scotch tape on his fingers because he didn't want the keyboard to be able to get his fingerprints. Why, I don't know. He covered up the camera on it because he felt like people could be watching him.
During this time, Richard's becoming more violent. He's making threats. I mean, we were scared of our own son during that time. We slept with our doors locked.
Not long after that, Richard took his life.
This should have never, ever happened. And it was Adderall.
People familiar with Richard's story say it illustrates the need for stricter guidelines for diagnosing ADD and for trying non-pharmaceutical treatments before prescribing Adderall.
There is now clear evidence that the medication should be, in most instances, the last line of defense and not the first line of defense. And what the research is clearly showing is that over the long term, the drugs are not as effective as the behavioral interventions.
The Fees want changes, requiring doctors to see what other prescriptions their patients are taking and requiring them to notify parents of adult children who are in danger.
And there was information that they had in their file that if they had shared with us at that time, we'd like to think things would have been different. I mean, they noted in Richard's file that they thought he was suicidal.
They say addicts should find a qualified professional to help wean them off it.
You just don't cold turkey the stuff. You need to be taken off of it slowly.
Although the Fees can't get their son back, they hope telling his story will prevent others from losing their loved ones. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Grace, music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
The Dove Foundation raves. Grace Unplugged is remarkable and inspiring.
This is not about the music. It's about everything else that goes with it.
Dad, were you watching me?
A moving and meaningful film.
This book, his words shook me. It was like my whole world.
That parents and teens should see together, says Focus on the Family.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna drag her back home?
Yeah, I might. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, rated PG, now playing. If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Grace, music is unpredictable.
I know I have what it takes.
The Dove Foundation raves. Grace Unplugged is remarkable and inspiring.
This is not about the music. It's about everything else that goes with it.
Dad, were you watching me?
A moving and meaningful film.
This book, his words shook me. It was like my whole world.
That parents and teens should see together, says Focus on the Family.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna drag her back home?
Yeah, I might. I think maybe you're fighting God. Just stop running.
Grace Unplugged, rated PG, now playing.
And finally today, thrill seekers in Georgia got a little taste of Spanish tradition this weekend, and it wasn't a meal that brought them closer to Spain. It was running for their lives. 3,000 people ran down a quarter-mile course with angry bulls, each bull weighing up to 2,000 pounds. Now, this is the first year the Great Bull Run is taking place in the U.S., and although thousands went for the run, others chose not to take any chances.
I have 2 kids. It's about as dangerous as it gets.
You don't need the bull running.
Nope, they run me enough.
I think I'm a little too old for bull running these days.
The Great Bull Run is inspired by the annual running of the bulls in Pamplona, Spain. The day-long festival features food, live music, and a free-for-all tomato fight. Future stops in the U.S. include Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Virginia, the first state in the country to hold such a run. All righty then. Well, that is going to do it now for CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. Thank you. Have a wonderful Wednesday. See you tomorrow.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse, read separate versions at a glance, click and read a commentary, or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.